Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Happy day to you and greetings wherever you are. I hope you're doing well, and I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm Jennifer from Personal Power Wellness, and I had a message I have a message right now that I wanted to share just for a few thoughts, and that's about food. And I don't know about you, but this food environment, the world we live in, it can become tricky. It can be tricky to know what to eat for health, what to eat for a long term healthy lifestyle, healthy body, a body that will stay strong and resilient and will not break down when we hit our later years in life. And there's so much information out there, so much in the media every day, and it seems like every day it's a different news, it's a different trend from week to week, and different magazines will focus on different fads and trends. Like it could be go vegan in one magazine, or it could be go keto in another publication. Or another TV show will talk about managing your insulin and how sugar is the devil. And the other people on YouTube will be talking about eating all raw or eating a plant-based whole food diet. And then someone else will talk about cutting out processed foods. And then you have the carnivores and the ketos, and you just have everyone out there spouting out their own philosophy, their own approaches, and essentially their own beliefs. So, what do we do? What do you do? How do you manage your weight? How do you stay satisfied with your body? And maybe that's a question in and of itself is, are you satisfied with your body? And if we're not, usually when we are dissatisfied and we want to change something about our appearance, about ourselves, physically, externally, that's what motivates us to then look at our food and to look at our exercise. And food is really the critical component. As much as I know that we can train, you can train hard, but you can't out train or out exercise a poor diet. I mean, there have been studies done on civilizations, the Hadza tribe in Africa, I believe, and they've looked at the caloric expenditure of these tribal individuals, people who are extremely active and fit their whole day, going out, looking for food, moving around, and their consumption of calories is about 2,000 or so daily in the men that are physically fit and active and just doing a daily regimen of intense physical labor for their food, and because it's part of their culture. And they found that despite their excessive movement, which would exceed so many of like people's normal lifestyle in our Western culture, civilization, despite their excessive and very active lifestyle, they did not burn any extra calories compared to a normal, let's label them sedentary or moderately active individual in a Western society, because the body downregulates and it sort of optimizes, it gets adapted to how we're living our life on a daily basis. So it already knows what to expect, and it either optimizes and it seeks to conserve energy and to make bodily functions and processes as efficient as possible. So essentially, you can be extremely active, but you may not necessarily be burning all the fat. For instance, if you have like a 10,000 calorie diet and you're not working out to burn equivalent or up to that range. I mean, look at Michael Phelps. Apparently, he was consuming about 10,000 calories, according to what the media says. And yet he was an Olympian and he was training the whole day. And this was his life and his existence. So if your life is not to be an extreme endurance athlete, an Olympian, a competitor in a bodybuilding sport, then you may want to revise how much you think that exercising is making up for your food choices, whatever they are. And this is not to demonize our behavior because we're all the same. We're all in the same boat. The people who say that they're professionals and experts, these are people that have dedicated their life to the topic. So, I mean, they do their research and then ultimately they eventually just focus on one core area. They focus in just one specific type of eating, or they talk about one kind of philosophy. So we all eventually have to pick a path and we pick a way or a philosophy. Otherwise, it gets extremely confusing. And one day it's apple cider vinegar, the other day it's black coffee with butter, or it's the bulletproof coffee combination with MCT oils. And then next you'll hear intermittent fasting. And then that doctor for IF will say, oh, but don't add butter, don't add cream because then you break your fast. Someone else will say, have celery juice, have lemon water first thing in the morning, then celery juice, then have a green smoothie, and then just have all raw or cooked, steamed, simple foods without dairy, without milk, without gluten, no animal products, or cutting them out and keeping the fats low, no overt fats. I mean, this is a type of approach from one individual out there, and I've listened to him a lot and I followed some of his suggestions. But it's tough because there's so much food temptation in the environment. There are people who study food addiction, and Joan Ifland, she is a doctor, and also she received her MBA, but I believe she's she's a trained doctor. She got her PhD and she has studied food addiction, and she talks about it a lot. She has tons of videos online and podcasts in case you're interested. It's not that I follow her specifically, but she does talk about food addiction. In terms of the brain chemistry and how some foods, they trigger our dopamine pathways and they exert excessive stimulation, which then causes other pathways in our neurobiology to downregulate, which can then cause more stress. It can cause overeating. It can cause physical sickness and ailments that accumulate over time. So I personally don't have all the answers. I'm definitely confused sometimes because as much as I am so conscientious and I research and I've studied over the years a lot about different foods and what they do and the macronutrients and the effect of going vegan, going all raw, having a juice cleanse, having colon cleansing as well, and talking to different doctors, I mean, you can go crazy. So what the point of all my discussion is right now is just to let you know that there's a lot of info out there. And just because you hear something from one source does not make it the absolute answer and the right answer. And it may not be the right answer for you. Or it could be something that works for someone else. Maybe it works for your parent or your best friend or your neighbor or your colleague or the person in the TV show. But you're different. You're not necessarily the same as that person. So don't think that just because X plan works for them, for Joe, it's going to work for Susie. There are a lot of variabilities in our bodies, our gender. I mean, the way that our body optimizes fat versus carbs is different between men and women. Women have a different constitution and set of hormones than men. We will have a different cycle. That's an example. So just know that in my experience, what I've learned is that food addiction seems to be real in the world for some people. And it seems that it's triggered in them because of certain foods they eat. And they say those foods can be typically flour, sugar, and salt together. Those are the three demons that combined can trigger food addiction, overeating, craving, weight gain, and possibly even sickness, physical sickness, and mental sickness as well, because of the combination of other physical factors. So, I mean, food is is natural. We need food to survive. We need to eat it. We can fast for 40 days, but then after 40 days, then what? You either change and you eat something, or you just become a monk and go in the mountains and learn how to, elevate your level of existence to a higher plane. So, unless we're doing that, we're typically going to have to eat and rely on food. So, then it comes down to the foods that work for you, the evidence you have based on your own life experience. What have you individually experienced in your body? Maybe gluten is the devil for Dr. Oz or the medical medium, but maybe gluten is fine for you. Not everyone is allergic to gluten. And just because it becomes a trend and a fad does not mean it's true for everyone, or that it's even true in general. Because ultimately, what do you know about gluten? Have you studied it? Did you research it? Did you look at various authors on the topic to gather research and background from different sources? So, as your own researcher, you need to make sure you gather different evidence so that you really know what's going on, so that you're not like blown around in the wind. One day black is good, one day white is bad, one day brown is the new favorite color of the world, etc. So, it's really about looking at what has worked for you, what has made you gain weight or lose weight, or what has made you feel constipated, or what makes you go to the bathroom more fluidly and regularly, and that makes you feel healthy. Which foods and drinks hinder your sleep, and which foods and drinks help you feel a little bit more lighter and better in your body. Because we feel that as much as we sometimes ignore it, we really know, and nobody else will know better than you. No blood work, no blood panel, no allergy test. You will tend to know from meal to meal and day to day, which foods that you eat, whether they're processed in a package, plastic, aluminum, or whether it's like a mango right off, just off the tree, or avocado or apple, how they affect your body and your brain and your thinking. Some foods make you break out, probably. I know many people in the world have experienced this. Some people get bloating when they eat dairy or have anything with lactose. Others don't. Some people tolerate it really well. And it's been studied that the people who are in the more north European climates, they tend to tolerate it better because they have it in their genetic history. Whereas they say, scientists and researchers, evolutionary biologists, they say that in Africa, because lactose has not been a part of that culture over the years, that's something that's the lactose sugar is a type of enzyme that Africans from Africa don't typically have. So when it was introduced in their culture from the processed food giants due to business, then that's where maybe some health issues could have developed because of the allergic reaction, because of the inability to digest and process dairy foods. That's one thing. Same with Asian cultures. They say that milk is not part of the, like, for instance, Chinese culture. But when it was introduced, they noticed that there was an increase in weight gain in the society, as well as increased health problems, health issues, and concerns. But that goes combined with processed food intake and what the widespread introduction of processed food items, highly palatable, engineered in a factory or laboratory, and mass produced for maximum consumption. So these are engineered fake foods, but they taste really good and they're usually cheap. They can be cheap. So anyway, there really is no answer. And you are the only person who can really give yourself those answers and insights based on your own history. And of course, as much as you learn, continue to learn, because that's how we really know that resonates with me. Or I don't know, I don't buy that at all. I've never had that in my experience. something like that. You listen and gather information so that you're not being thrown around. And if you have any doubt, look to your history, look at your ancestors, at your grandmother and grandfather, and maybe their predecessors, even your parents, if you're of of an older generation. Just look at what your parents ate. Traditional food, simple foods, wholesome foods, without added preservatives, artificial chemicals, potassium diphosphate, sodium benzoate, a preservative, polymethyl siloxane, which is another popular component, artificial colors, artificial flavors, natural colors, red 40, blue 10, yellow, sunset 90, whatever, like this was not in our ancestors' food intake. They had food from the ground, even if it was like eggs and cheese, they bought it from the local market, from the farmers. Maybe your own predecessors were the farmers themselves. So if you have any doubt ever, look and remember or ask your parents, what did my grandparents eat? What was their daily food like? What did my aunts and uncles from before eat? Because that will be a really good and I think a stronger base of reference for making your choices if you have any doubts. And if you have a doubt, well, it's easier to leave it out instead of spending your money on food that might feel like poison in your system, because it's really just fake BS. Okay? So I'm not perfect at this either. Sometimes I think, like I'd like to try a Rice Krispies treat or a Pop-Tart. And then I look at the ingredients list and I can't bring myself to do it because it just has so many chemicals, so many things. And I just imagine that it might get stuck in my colon, might, cause accumulation, constipation, or it might give me some like poor poopy mood the next day where I feel depressed. And it's happened to me. So, after so much failure in my side, in my experience, I just want to move into a direction of greater like success, personal success, just feeling peace and just being happy and content, and to accept the choices that I do make. Whether that's like boring and simple, or once in a while I might choose to buy like a protein bar, and it's not perfect because it has emulsifiers and, but sometimes convenience wins. I'm outdoors, you caught me in a pinch, and I don't want a banana, I don't have a banana. I don't want to eat another banana because I'm going to have that at home anyway. I know part of that is maybe I'm being ungrateful, but I want variety. And maybe you like variety too, right? You want tasty, fatty, savory, then it's sweet, all those flavors. But sometimes we really just can't have it all at the same time. And we can't have it all maybe in general. And maybe a part of this is to learn to accept that we have to just give up some things if we want to receive other compensation and benefits. We really sometimes just have to pick a side, and not be wishy-washy with your own self and your own health and digestion. So, yeah, well, anyway, that's it for now. I hope that this really helps and inspires you out there to keep the joy, the health, the happiness, and the positive vibes all up, as high vibe as possible. Just know that, it's one day at a time, and continue to listen to people who have helped you in the past, those with a good word, a kind word, because we all need help, and we're all here in this together. By here, I mean this lifeboat. Life is a lifeboat, and it's an ongoing vessel, and it's always on the sea. It's always moving, and we're always on the boat, and there are some people on our boat too for this cruise. So let's continue to enjoy this cruise, take it forward, and sit down to that buffet and make your best choices. because ultimately I feel sometimes we are what we eat. And much more than that, but certainly food must do something to us if it's the only thing we're putting in through our mouth. It's the only thing, food and drink. So, because it goes in and it goes down, it goes into our tummy and it goes into our blood cells and into our brain, into our arteries, into our ligaments and joints. And that must mean something, right? That must count for a lot, actually. So look at your health, look at yourself with love and appreciation and gratitude, and see how far you've come and that you can always change. It's never too late. It's never too late for us. And every day is a new day. But don't become that constant, hamster on the hamster wheel. Oh, I'll do tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Tomorrow is always now, eventually. It's always today. Yeah. So seize your today, because today is the day. This is the moment now. From your next meal forward, forget whatever you've done in the past. And if you want to change in any way, you can do it now. Whatever that is. And if you need to just keep doing the same things, if that's working for you, then hey, awesome. Success for you. Congratulations. And keep doing that to support your family, support your community, yourself, and just leading by example. Just lead yourself by your own example. The more you do it, the better you become. So take care. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have any questions or ideas, let me know. And if you want to talk about any of these topics in a life coaching session, wellness, health, or just life-oriented relationships. I've consulted with clients before on relationships and applying different coaching modalities to that, NLP resources. Let me know, and we can set up a call, a video conference call, or in-person meeting if you're in Dubai. Thanks again. See you soon, and take care of yourself. Thank you from Jen at Personal Power Wellness Coaching. Bye.